So hi, this is probably going to be the last video, and I want to talk a little bit about something different. So I'm talking about innovation and how limitations drive creativity. So the thing is, we know this, a lot of our early guitar heroes were very limited in the gear they use. Hendrix, of course, the classic example, very limited choice of fuzz, limited choice of guitars, and out of that somehow he created this amazing music, and he did this whole new thing. And again and again we see this with other guitarists and musicians, and I think we tend to think that, you know, they're being creative in spite of their limitations. I don't think we think about it in terms of how much those limitations actually make us creative and how much we can't be creative without those limitations. And I'm gonna hit on a little bit harsh here on some of the modeling guitar stuff and a few of the other pedals, and I don't mean this in a too critical way. I think they're really good at their thing and they're really good at what they do and they have their niche, but I don't think that they fix everything that some people like to make out they are. So the problem is that when you have one of these amazing do-everything units, you can just dial in thousands and thousands of sounds. You can spend your whole life dialing in sounds, and you never really become an expert in anything. You're not an expert in anything. Whereas I think when you have a limited range of things, you're forced to become an expert because you very quickly come to grips with what you've got, and then you start trying to push those boundaries, you start learning how to make it do unusual things. So I think it's very important to have boundaries within your equipment. For example, I think one of my favourite pedals is the Boss PS2 pitch shifter, the old analog one. There's a lot it doesn't do. It's a very dirty sounding sort of lo-fi thing. You can't do nice with it, and because of that you end up exploring it an awful lot, playing with the controls until you find something that's really cool. And out of it, I mean, I can get some really amazing sort of organ sounds. I'm like, oh, you know, I've been in love with those since I first did that pedal, and nothing else does it. And yeah, it's not a versatile pedal, it's not got a lot of tricks, half the settings don't even really useful, and it's the limitation that creates a lot of the skill. You know, and I think the same is true of a lot of us as players. I'm going to guess a lot of you are going to say similar to me with this, which is that you did your best learning and became your best self at some time when you didn't have a lot going on in your world, when you were in a very limited scenario with very little options of what to do. You know, for me, I was growing up and I was stuck at home in Wales and it was very boring, and so I just played guitar. I got better at playing guitar, you know, or a lot of my pedals, you know. I couldn't afford good gear, I didn't have access to good gear, the internet wasn't around yet, so I did what I knew, and I messed with and modified gear until I made it work. And once I got it working the way I want, I'd gain those skills to say, here, I can make these interesting bits of gear and do really cool things with it. And out of that is born everything I'm doing now. Limitation drives innovation, you know. And I think if you're setting yourself up with too much, you just get lost and you get in a rut. So the first multi-effects I had was Digitech RP10, and at the time it was a wonder of madness, but you know, I never really got a great reverb out of it. I think it had about 11 parameters or something, and they were very adjustable, and had a full 4-band parametric EQ, and it was so free-ranging that it had nothing. It had no inherent tone. You know, and I think I see my friends with the, you know, the one, the big does everything singing, and they're like, I can dial up this pedal, I can dial up that pedal, I can dial up that amp. I'm like, well, yeah, are you an expert at using any of those particular sounds? Can you make them do something unique? I mean, it doesn't really matter if the unit can do it or not, if you can't. You know, and that's something I really want to capture in my pedals. I want to give you, in some extent, a limited range of choices. I'm trying to give you choices of how to use it that are varied enough that you can experiment with it, explore with it, and eventually become an expert. Trying to make sure all the choices are good. There should be no shit choices. That's another faux pas, classic faux pas, especially the multi-effects. They happen often to be made by engineers who say, I don't really know what a guitarist wants, so let's give them everything. Let's give them an 8-band fully parametric EQ because we don't really know what the sweet spot in EQ is. We're going to give them an EQ that goes from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz when their guitar absolutely doesn't need that or go anywhere near that. And so, yeah, so I'll give you EQs that work in the range that's useful, but then give you enough control over it you can hopefully, you know, become an expert and do things with it I never expected. And I think that's the sweet spot. That's what we're going for here. That's how you create the best playing. And that's my belief, that's my philosophy, that's what you're investing in. I hope that's what you're on board with, because it's what you're getting. You know, the idea, enough really good control to get yourself in trouble. Nice, easy, obvious controls that you can really hear them working, so you can do something you don't feel lost on, but not like deluging you and saying, hey, I'll give you the entire universe of options here, have everything. Because like I said, I think that's lazy design, really. In truth, that's lazy design. So yeah, limitations. And actually, you know, one of the best limitations of this pedal for me has been that expression jack I mentioned previously. Because I went for a lot of options, how I could add switches to it, how I could do that, and in the end I said, no. Fundamentally, this expression system I'm putting in place that all the pedals will use is going to be a one knob effect system, one pedal effect system, one plug-in effect system. You have on, off, and a pedal. So whatever I design, that's my limitation. I have to come up with some cool ideas for you guys beyond a low-pass filter, beyond some obvious like a wah, because isn't a wah the ultimate in limitation? There's no controls. You have a foot pedal. Turn it on, you move the pedal. That's it. You know, you don't get to fine tune that, and how cool is that? And occasionally you get an odd pedal with a few extras, but you know, what you can do with a fuzz pedal or wah, I think it comes out of the limitation of that equipment and learning to like be a master of it. Anyway, I've waffled enough. The beach here is beautiful. I think you get the gist of it. You know, embrace less. Less is more. Become an expert, not someone who is just a collector of generalities. Cool. See you guys next time.